Everyone will take their seat, please. We'll call the council meeting for Tuesday, December the 6th, 2011, officially open at 6:01 p.m. If you will please stand and join me in pledging allegiance to our flag, followed by the invocation tonight given by Councilman Willie Wood, Jr. Salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, gracious God, we come now as humble as we know how, Lord. First, we want to say thank you for blessing us in so many ways. Thank you, Lord, for life, health, and strength. Thank you for food, clothing, and shelter. Thank you, Lord, for each individual that has assembled here. We pray your blessings upon them and their family. Bless this council, this mayor, and this city, this administration and employees as we try to move forward. Direct our tongues, O Lord, as we speak. Give us courage, O Lord, and let us, when we leave here this night, Lord, realize that you are directing our path. Be with those who are less fortunate than we are at this time, those who are sick, those who are bereaved. Be with our men and women fighting around the world. We thank you, O Lord, and we pray your blessings upon us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilman Striplin. Here. Councilman Wood.
Here.
Councilman Argo.
Here.
Councilman Miller.
Here.
Councilman Reniger.
Here.
Councilman Bowles.
Here.
Councilman Fank.
Here.
The character trait for this month is benevolence, pursuing the good in others. Exactly. Fellow councilmen, you have received a copy of the minutes from the public hearing in the City Council meeting for November the 15th, 2011, and the special session of November the 21st, 2011. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve these minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Argo. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Fank. Is there any discussion about the approval of the minutes? No additions or deletions. All in favor of approving the minutes signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign, saying none. The minutes are approved. Before we get into comments on the agenda items, I would like to recognize a guest, a very special guest with us tonight, Representative Paul Beckman, our state representative. Paul, welcome. Glad to have you with us. This time we'll open the floor up for comments from anyone present that would like to address the council on an agenda item only. Is there anyone that would like to address the council on any item on our agenda? Dr. Simmons, lights are kind of bright.
Dr. Jerry Simmons, 141 North Chestnut Street here in Prattville. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I wanted to just touch base with you. I spoke to several of you, and I spoke to the mayor about the ordinance on the sales tax that's before you tonight. That's item number 1. And what I wanted to just bring to your attention is right now you have a paragraph A that reads that these funds collected with this additional sales tax shall be expended only for existing debt service of the city. And so the problem that you have, and I spoke to several of you, is you have 2 legal opinions that say that half of the penny that you collect for all the stores in Project K, which is Hobby Lobby, Academy, and Kohl's, that has to be rebated back to the Exchange District. So with that legal opinion, you truly can't say that you're going to use the whole penny for existing city debt. The federal courts have held that the term existing city debt refers to debt that was in place at the time of the agreement, or in this case, the time that you pass the ordinance, assuming you pass it tonight. So I spoke with Mr. McDowell, and it's a real dilemma because the mayor and the finance department intend to pay half of that penny for every dollar of sales that occur, but it's not an existing debt, it's a future liability, so that if, God forbid, those stores should be damaged by a tornado and there's no sales, you have no liability. The solution that I came up with is that I recommend you either amend and delete paragraph A completely, and I realize that some of you might be nervous about that because you put that paragraph in perhaps because you were worried that the administration wouldn't use all of that money for existing debt and might use it for other operational needs. So if that concerns you, that you feel nervous about eliminating the paragraph, what I recommend is modifying the paragraph to read that the tax collected under the Section 3892C after deduction for expenses of collection, and insert the phrase, excluding future sales tax rebates owed pursuant to Project K agreement approved on October 21st, 2008, shall be expended only for existing debt service of the city of Prattville. That way, you have the best of both worlds, that the only monies other than Project K must be used for existing city debt. So I just wanted to go over that with you, and hopefully you can make an amendment tonight, because otherwise what you're doing is setting up an ordinance that's going to be in conflict with what the administration intends to do, and that's not a good thing to do. So with that, I'll close unless you have any questions.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Dr. Simmons, I apologize for not being able to speak with you. I literally landed less than an hour ago at Montgomery and had to get here to this meeting. If you will let me have that language, I'll be glad to introduce it. Mr. President, members of the council, I don't think that an amendment is necessary because this ordinance has not been introduced at this point. So if I read this ordinance with that language, then it's properly before us. It does not have to be amended.
That's correct.
Okay.
I'll be happy to give you that. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Any other questions for Dr. Simmons?
There's
the clause.
Thank you, sir. Pardon? Yep, after he gets amended. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council on an agenda item this evening? Any item that's on our agenda? I don't see any hands up. Mayor, we'll move into your report now. Do you have a report for us?
And if you'll indulge me just a little bit, I think our state representative wants to come forward and speak to the council if that's appropriate.
It's your moment.
Okay.
By all means.
Good evening. I hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas. December is a month of giving, and I've had the luxury of speaking with some of y'all, and mostly with our mayor. And today it gives me great pleasure to come forward and introduce or give you something that typifies the season of giving. I have a check here in the amount of $6,783 that I am going to be giving to the city in reference for the community grants. I do want to point out it is your tax dollars. It is something that usually in the past I could pick out as far as what group got what, but this time I just said, well, we're going to give it to the city and let the city put it to good use. So here today, Mr. Gillespie, is a check for $6,783. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. God bless y'all.
Well, that was a,
It's a nice
Pleasant
way to
surprise.
start out a meeting, huh?
it most certainly is.
Oh,
Anybody
you
else?
come back every time now.
We appreciate that, and keep coming back anytime you can, and we would certainly appreciate that. But thank you for all the hard work that you're giving us here in District 88, and we certainly do appreciate that. And also, if I can ask for one more slight variance, I want to call the Autauga Creek Improvement Committee to come up, and I have a plaque that actually has already been awarded to them. It's from the Governor's Award, but I wanted to call everybody up here that we could and have them come forward and want to represent this and get a little bit of recognition for all their hard work and everything that we've been giving back to the community. While they're filing on up here, I just want to say that this is just it's something that, as I stepped in as mayor, I just threw out there trying to pull together one of our citizens-based community initiative teams, and I never really envisioned that the Autauga Creek Improvement Committee would have blossomed quite as well as it has. They have, and this is not near as many people that's on Facebook with them, and it comes down and helps work out in our streams and everything, trying to improve our canoe trail, and hopefully Dr. Tom Miller will be down there in his canoe come whenever the weather permits and everything, because I know he's been asking numerous times, when is it? And so whenever you're ready, Doc, it's ready.
What I ask is if I could borrow your kayak.
It's for rent, unless I have to get a business license on that. But anyway, in recognition of what you guys have done, and as many people have come up here, I better not start trying to count off names, because if I do, I know I'll mispronounce it or leave somebody out. But there again, thank you for everything that you've done. You and your crew have really stepped out there. You have been an inspiration to quite a few people, including myself. And I know everything that you guys have done is really going to be, come springtime, summertime, when the water is warming on up some more. I know we're all going to truly be enjoying what you guys have brought before us. But come forward and let's get some pictures. And if you have anything to say. She will.
She will.
Hey, I like those shoes. Okay. Anything you or the crew would like to say?
Well, I think we need to start out by thanking the city for letting us work with them in this partnership, which is really unique. I've given all the council members a copy of our latest brochure that we've been passing out. We've got a lot of really, really good people. It's not me. It's the entire group. Ophi Harden is working on our development team, and she can probably tell you a really good way to spend that money that was just given to us by by Mr. Paul Beckman. We are working to form that nonprofit organization that we talked about, that I was here to talk about in August. Joanne Johnson is the one that did that brochure, and you can see that our project is really growing, and we have cleanup still planned for December. We're going to clean up this weekend and try to get some of the trash off the side of the banks. We have activities planned already for next spring. There's a lot going on, and I really want to thank everybody for being part of the committee. I know they had a ball this past weekend as part of the city float and everything like that in the parade. So thank you guys. You make us look good. It's a team effort.
Well, there again, I want to thank them for coming forward and also thank them for everything that they have done for us. I know along with the Creek Improvement Committee, we're also working alongside with the leadership of Autauga. They have donated some some funds and also materials where right here in the back we'll be laying down some of the pavers that they were able to acquire a few years back, and so we're going to try to finish up a project there. And so you should see some minor projects going on right here behind City Hall as weather permits, and also other projects permits, because this is a project that as long as the creek is there, as long as we have weather, as long as the water is rising up and down, there's always going to be needed something to be done back there. And so I hope that anybody who has not gone back here and see exactly what kind of jewel that we actually have here in the city, please take the time sometime between now and summertime and really see what we have back there, and get engaged as just as much as you can. But there again, one last time, thank you, Tauga Creek Improvement Committee, for this award, and I'll post it proudly. Okay, as we move right on along, let me turn my little notepad here on. I put some fillers out there, and we're sending out some letters trying to bring together our recycling team and also our recycling task force. I know we have 2 council members sitting up here. I didn't send letters out to you guys, but you will find them in your mailbox. We're trying to save stamps there. So look in there before you leave, and you'll see. Anyway, sometime in the middle of January, I'm going to try to pull together the recycling task force again, try to pull another citizen-based committee together for us to review all of the recycling that we have going on now, see what other improvements that we might be able to make, what areas, what directions we need to move in that. I see where we have come a long ways with it, because years ago, recycling was really not a word you ever spoke around Prattville. But we have a pretty good gathering of people. If you go up there ever on a Saturday and see exactly how much recycling we have brought in there. One of the downfalls on it is that the expenditures that we're having to make on that right now, we're actually spending approximately $15,000 a year for personnel costs up there. And if there's some other way that we can potentially cut that cost down, get that recycling program available to more and more people, and hopefully as we pull these 2 groups together, we'll be able to do that and hopefully get as much citizen involvement in that. And I look forward to that, and hopefully you guys will be available the mid of January. Another meeting I want to go ahead and talk about also is that Monday I called the department heads together that were involved, which were planning, engineering, urban management, leisure services, and also we had Councilman Bowles to get involved on it also. We were talking about our 2014 area, and I'm certain everybody up here is familiar with the 2014. Initially, it was our 2010. We bumped it back another 4 years to 2014. It's almost here on top of us, and we're really trying to find exactly what our needs were going to be, not only with personnel, equipment. We had a tabletop version of what our best case scenario is going to be for us to get involved, to get connected with our 2014 area out there, and that's something that everybody's sitting up here except for Councilman Bowles and Fink and Stripling. I believe we're sitting up here when the annexations were going on, and so you guys know more about that than I do, but we have committed to that area to provide them the full services by the end of 2014. So we do have an obligation there, and we're trying to get ready for that. But we were trying to inventory, see, like I said, the best case scenario there, and move forward on that. But also, another portion of this was that, and one reason why Leisure Services was involved on it is that it's probably not commonly known, but right off of Main Street, the city owns roughly 60-plus acres, which is a pretty rugged area in there, and we're looking at making it a rugged trail, a bike path, and a walking trail. And so you'll probably be hearing more about that in the very near future. But we're trying to, not only with the Creek Committee and the creek behind us, but activities like this is trying to get people out and get more active and to help fight obesity any way, in shape, form, and fashion that we can. But as we move along to our agenda tonight, I want to talk about ordinance number 1. Ordinance number 1 is about our sales tax. I know sales tax and budgets have been on everybody's mind, if not only here, but around the city of Prattville. And one thing I do want to remind everybody is that originally working with the Finance Committee approximately 10 months ago, there was presented to this council a 5-year 1-cent sales tax plan. Now, what the plans are for the council, I do not know, but I do know that whatever funding that the council provides me, I will deliver the product. It might not be the same quality product that we're looking at right here, right now, but we will definitely be delivering the product. But also, with that 5-year plan, it did wean us off of our sales tax, because I think everybody sitting up here and myself standing up here, our intentions were for this 1 penny not to be a permanent tax. It is a temporary tax, because I think, not speaking for anybody, but I know I do not want to be known as a mayor who insisted on having a permanent 1 penny tax. But the 5-year plan was a workable plan. If we don't have it, we will improvise. But I guess as your role to provide me the funding, my role is to oversee the day-to-day operations. So you give me the plan, and I will carry it out. I want to go ahead and move along to something a little bit lighter also, is that we had our tree lighting event that most everybody up here attended, and thank you for that. But paired along with it was our Christmas parade, which was very successful this year. We had 105 entries of it. I think we had our biggest spectator crowd ever. We had approximately 12,000 people spectating there, and I think that was, well, I will put it this way, I was one of the first vehicles in line, and we had to slow down because the front end was catching up with the back end, and so that was a mighty long parade if anybody was there. I also want to say, in a positive note, that the CERT, the Community Emergency Response Team, and anybody who was here probably saw them helping our police department out at the different corners trying to control traffic. Through their efforts, they were actually able to save us $1,410 estimated because of the length and the time route of the parade. So I do want to say thank you for them, and also the police officers, the fire department. I've got a list right here, so I'm going to start over on it. But just need to say a job well done to Kelly Cook for organizing the parade, Ken Johnson, and the urban management crew for what they did, getting all the lights set up and going, and making the city look as great as it has. Eddie Davis with Robbie Anderson and the engineering department for getting all the electrical going. Our police department and fire department were there. They were helping keep everybody under control there. I also need to say thank you to John McDaniels, who he escorted Santa into town. So thank you there. Without Santa, it wouldn't quite been the same parade. But I also want to get everybody to go ahead and pencil something in on their calendar. Second week in July. That's going to be the start of our 2013 budget process. So I hope everybody sitting up here can be more involved in it. It's going to be a little different format than what it has in the past. It's going to be from very early on. It's going to be open to the public. It's going to be open for the council members to come in and just have as much input into it as absolutely possible. Because if nothing else has come out of our budget process, it has definitely been a learning process, and we are evolving, and I truly see that we do have some tweaks that need to be done in this process, so that way we're not holding up our employees from being very efficient, but it is not a very productive way for us to go this long into the year and still not have a budget. But whatever the council decides to do on that or the sales tax, I'm ready, willing, and able to go along with that. Moving right along on that, I need to ask that on resolution number 8, if you guys will hold that until our next council meeting. There needs to be some advertising done on that. On number 9, on our resolution number 9, on agenda number 9. It's I'm hoping that you guys will give me authorization to go into agreement with our community programs on aging. That's basically also known as our Meals on Wheels. And if you notice on it, there is no dollar amount included in the header here, nor in the budget. And the reason for that is that the city will expend $0 on that. So if there's any questions on that, I hope I've answered them. Besides going along with that, till the end of it, recently we had a advanced grant writing process or class done in Tuscaloosa. We had several people from the city here go to it, and Michael Whaley, Paula Barlow, Roxanne Helen, and Kelly Cook were all able to attend and came back with some great ideas, and hopefully we'll come back with some free grant dollars in the very near future on that. I know talking with Michael Whaley, he had some really great ideas that I'm certainly be bringing to the council in the very near future. Last but not least, I need to go ahead and say congratulations to the Prattville High School football team. I know several of us were up at the Tuscaloosa game on it last Friday night, and were able to pull them through. And in case nobody happened to notice, there was a little white out in front of City Hall Friday night, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, Monday. But we got that all cleaned up through various different departments there, and at very little expense to the city. Besides that, Mr. President, that's all I have to report on.
Any questions for our mayor? Councilman Bowes?
I just want to reiterate on congratulating Prattville High. I was one of the ones down here first thing because, as you know, I have a 4-year-old, so we don't take her out in the middle of the night to the ball game. But she was in bed, so I snuck in and was very guilty party on helping getting this thing white. But I do want to tell the police department they did a wonderful job. The kids down here had a wonderful time. They had everything roped off. It was very protected. And when I was down here, I went home and went to bed. But it was mainly young kids, and it was just a really good time for all of them. Thank you.
I agree, and I heard several reports from different individuals down here on exactly what amount they spent on toilet paper, and so if nothing else, it boosted the economy in Prattville for one night anyway. Hope nobody had an emergency, but...
Anything else for our mayor? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Move into the reports from our council members on special committees. Councilman Striplin? No, sir. Councilman Wood?
Mr. Chair, I don't have a report on committee, but for like a point of personal privilege, since I will have to be leaving on a family matter in about 15 minutes, if you allow.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the council and to the mayor, I will be leaving, and most of you all know I don't leave council meetings unless I have a family matter, and I do have a family matter. But I want to speak on these first two items just to each of you all. I would like to encourage this council and this mayor, if at all possible, to pass ordinance number 1 tonight, whether you pass it in the format that it's in, you amend it for 2 years, or you amend it for the term that the mayor spoke of in his report. But I want to encourage you to pass ordinance number 1. Being that I'm a member of the Finance Committee, you all know that we've had a budget before you. The mayor has a hybrid before you. Without number 1, no budgets will work. So with that being said, any budget that's placed before you, whether it's presented by the Finance Committee or the mayor, it's going to need that additional sales tax. Now, to the budget that's before you, I go on record as going ahead and supporting the hybrid that the mayor has before us. All budgets can be amended. Anything can be amended. So I'm just encouraging you all, while I had an opportunity, Mr. President, that you all just go ahead and move forward with these issues. They won't go away. Continue to work diligently with the mayor to reduce costs and to keep the revenue coming in. And let's move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Argo.
Yes, sir. Item number 10 on our agenda this evening is the changes to our wastewater fees and collections that we have had a work session on. Jim Marshall from Jackson Thornton has been in constant contact with Jamie McClellan and David McDowell to make sure that the language is exactly what this council heard and was presented during that work session. So I'm going to encourage the council to move forward on ordinance number 10. The reason that I'm asking the council to move forward on that is that it does play into the budget. And the way that we had this originally, the budget was before us, but this was not. So we would have been making changes to our wastewater fees and collections after the budget had been approved. If we go ahead and adopt our ordinance number 10 tonight, then it will dovetail with the budget if the budget is entertained and adopted tonight, or if the budget is adopted at a later meeting, then ordinance number 10 will already be on the books and those fees can be begun collecting. So the Sanitation and Wastewater Committee asks that ordinance number 10 be moved this evening and adopted. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Miller.
Yeah, two things. One, in terms of the fire department, fire committee, we are planning to introduce the resolution with the contract with the city and county agreement on the ambulance services at the next meeting, 2nd December meeting. So unless the mayor has, I know we're trying to coordinate that with some other issues, relationships with the county, specifically the Metro Jail, but the plan right now is for the next meeting to bring that before the council. The second thing, I had communicated with fellow councilmen about my intent to bring a resolution to address the provision of city health insurance to the city council, as well as the part-time appointed folks, the city attorney, the municipal judge, and the city prosecutor. And I got some feedback from a couple of you, very constructive feedback. I also had some conversations with Ms. Thrash, our HR director, and my intent to bring that before us at our next meeting, the 2nd December meeting, will take the form such that that insurance is still available to those individuals, but similar to how it's available to retirees in terms of the payment of the city share and the employee share. So you'll still have, if it is passed by this body in the form that I plan to bring it before us, those individuals will still have access to a city health insurance policy, but they will pay the city share and the participant share the same as we currently do with our retirees. So I just wanted to go ahead and follow up some of the email communication and conversations that I'd had with a number of you, that will be my intent to bring that before us at our next meeting. And that's it for me.
Councilman Bowles.
No, sir.
Councilman Fink. No. We will get into our agenda now. First item is an ordinance to amend City Code Division 2, Sales Tax, Section 38-92, subparagraph C, imposition of certain sales and use tax. Councilman Argo, will you introduce this ordinance?
Yes, Mr. President. Be it ordained that the City Code Division 2 Sales Tax, Section 38-92C, is hereby amended as follows. Section 38-92C, imposition of limited duration tax. In addition to the taxes set forth in 38-91 and Section 38-92A and B, there shall be an additional 1% sales tax levied under Sections 38-91, 1, 2, and 6, commencing on the first day of May 2011 and ending on the 30th day of September 2012. In addition to the taxes set forth in 38-91 and Section 38-92A and B, there shall be an additional 0.5% tax levied under Sections 38-91, 1, 2, and 6, commencing on the first day of October 2012 and ending on the 30th day of September 2013. A. that the tax collected under this section 38-92C, after deduction for expenses of collection, shall be expended only for existing debt service of the City of Prattville. For the purposes of this ordinance, the term existing debt service shall mean debt service of the City of Prattville owed on the date of passage of this ordinance. This ordinance shall become effective upon its passage and execution as provided by law. Mr. President, I so move.
Councilman Argo has moved this ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Bowes. By point of order, since this is an ordinance, this will carry over to our next meeting unless there is a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion.
Councilman Bowes has moved that we suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Argo. Any discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? Councilman Argo.
Yes, sir. Just quickly, for the benefit of the council and for those that are here this evening, Dr. Simmons came forward and asked that there be an amendment made. Mr. McDowell and Dr. Simmons did go outside, and they did conclude that the way that the ordinance was constructed was correct. So Dr. Simmons's amendment was not necessary. I don't want anyone to think that I ignored his amendment. He and Mr. McDowell worked that out, and it was correct. So I read it to be the way that it was before you. The reason that I'd like to go ahead and move on this is to go ahead and get it before us. And if the council chooses to hold at that point, that's fine. But I would like to go ahead and get it before us, pass the suspension of the rules, so we can have some discussion, and I can give you the benefit of my thoughts on this. Other members of the council will also have that benefit. And then the council at that time can decide whether or not it wants to go forward tonight or if it chooses to hold. So I encourage the council to suspend the rules and let's move forward. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? I see no opposition. The rules are suspended and this ordinance is properly before us. Is there any discussion pertaining to this ordinance? Councilman Argo.
Yes, sir. Members of the council, I want, first of all, I want to beg your forgiveness on one thing. There was an article that appeared in the newspaper recently that said that I had introduced, or I was going to introduce this ordinance, and that I was counting votes. That is not true. Each member of this council can verify that I have not called a single soul on this council and asked you to support this. So I want to make that clear. That was incorrect. I have not counted my votes. The reason that I have brought this forward is I have maintained ever since we started talking about a limited duration sales tax is that I am personally opposed to a sales tax. I personally believe that a sales tax hurts the least of us worse than it does those of us who can afford to pay the tax. So I think that it's unfair on its face. The reason that I have proposed this ordinance this evening is that our last meeting we chose not to entertain an ordinance that would have extended the sales tax through 2013. So what I have done is I've put an ordinance before us this evening that extends the sales tax through the end of the fiscal year of 2012. And you all will recall that during our budget hearings last summer and fall, I suggested to the council at that point to make the sales tax, if we were going to have one, through the fiscal year for budget purposes, if nothing else. But the council chose not to do that and chose instead to end it in May, right in the middle or the middle of the third quarter of our fiscal year. So what I'm asking tonight is I'm going to basically enter into an agreement with the council that I will support the extension of the sales tax through the end of the fiscal year with the stipulation that at the end of the fiscal year it reduces to a half cent. At the end of the 2013 fiscal year, it goes away. And the reason that I'm doing that is for two reasons. Number one is I have every confidence in Mayor Gillespie. He has done a wonderful job over this last 11, 12 months managing a budget with a sales tax in it that he knew at some point was going to go away. So I have every confidence that he will be able to continue to direct this city with the funds as long as they go away on 2012 and reduce to a half cent. And the second reason is for the exact purpose that the mayor stood up here and talked to us about the 2014 plan. Unless we have a date certain facing us, it is going to be very difficult for us to act. If we know that on September 30, 2012, that our sales tax will reduce to 1/2 cent, it will encourage the mayor, department heads, council members, city employees to curb their spending as much as possible, to look at ways to be more efficient and more effective, and then knowing that at some point in the future it is going to go away. I also would like to say that over the last several months, which I'm certainly not suggesting that it is a bellwether for the economy, but I will say that over the last several months, I think that we have seen an economy that is starting to heal. And I do believe that by the end of the fiscal year 2013, our economy will be such that this city can then sustain itself without that additional sales tax, and we can get back to the way we were. So with that, Mr. President, I ask the council to pass ordinance number 1. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this ordinance? Councilman Bowles.
Councilman Argo, I'm planning to offer an amendment tonight, and I made sure I called just try to get hold of everybody I possibly could to let them know that I want to take this thing to a 1% tax to end in 2013, because at this physical time, I don't see it. I'll be honest with you. Everybody keeps asking us, don't play the blame game. How do we get in here? Well, we got in here by this board and this body betting on the economy. We made a bet on the economy, and I'm saying we, and I wasn't a part of it. And we lost. If we pass the 1% and then 1/2 cent, we are again betting on the economy. And I'm not a betting man. The other thing I'd like to point out is the 1% has taken our debt from $60 million to $55 million. Next year it should go 55 to $50 million. The year after that, 55 to $45 million. We're on the road to recovery. And honestly, if we could leave it alone and the citizens allow us to leave it alone for 10 years, we'll be out of debt. I would dare to say anybody in this room that was on a guaranteed 10-year plan to be your household out of debt, you'd take that road in a heartbeat. But if we leave it to 2013, we are allowing the people to vote on it in the next coming election, because it will be an election issue. And anybody who comes up and says, hey, I want to keep it, they'll have to give the reasons why. Anybody who says, that I don't want it, I want it to go away, they're going to have to show us how they're going to get it to go away. But at this point in time, it would be physically irresponsible for this board to say that we can actually do this, because we're going to be right in front of everybody next year saying, okay, we made a mistake, we got to up it. Or we're going to cut this city services to a bone that we don't want to cut it to. And there again, I'm going to keep on the place that running your own business, you really can have a real close heartbeat to the economy in Prattville. The economy of Prattville is turning around. Business is picking up. But at the same time, I'm not willing to bet that it's going to be there far enough along for this thing to go away in 2 years, or at least in another year, to take it to a 0.5%. And if it is, great, let's put it in reserves and actually start building a reserve account with the other $2.5 million, if I'm wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the amendment. If you don't mind, pass that. Can you pass those down for me? I'd like to make amendment to line 16 to read section 3982A and B. There shall be an additional 1% tax levied. Thank you.
Councilman Bowes has proposed an amendment to this ordinance. Is there a second? Is there a second? Are you offering a second, Councilman Miller?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. Is there any discussion about this proposed amendment? Councilman Argo.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm opposed to the amendment, but that's a given. But I will say this, Councilman Bowles, just so you'll know, I'm not betting on the economy. What I'm betting on is I'm betting on the abilities of the mayor and this council to get its fiscal house in order and to do exactly what it said it was going to do, and that is to have a limited duration sales tax. Tonight we've had the mayor mention 5 years, and now you've mentioned 10. In my judgment, that is not a limited duration sales tax. That will be a permanent sales tax. So what I'm saying is, I want to bet on the mayor and this body to get its fiscal house in order, and I believe we can do that. And I think you will agree with me, over the last year, we have made tremendous strides in handling this fiscal business that we need to handle. And that's what I'm betting on. I'm betting that we can continue to do that. So please understand, I'm not betting on the economy. I've never bet on the economy, and I never will. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this proposed amendment? All those in favor of adopting this proposed amendment signify by raising your right hand. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. The amendment is, the ordinance has been amended.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Arnold.
Would you please at least give me the opportunity to vote no?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Excuse
Not a
me.
problem.
All opposed signify by raising your right hand. I am so sorry, Dave. There are 2 in opposition. This is such a delicate matter. I'm trying to tread lightly here now. Okay. The amended ordinance is properly before us. Is there any discussion on the amended ordinance? All those in favor of the ordinance as it is amended signify by raising your right hand. Okay. Any opposition by like sign? It's 3-3. There is not a majority, and the ordinance fails for the lack of a majority. Next item is a resolution to adopt the City of Prattville fiscal year 2011-2012 general operating fund budget. It's been held twice. At this time, I'm going to the chair will pass the gavel to the President Pro Tem and ask to be recognized.
Please note the gavel's been passed, and the chair now recognizes Council President Mike Reniger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I have a substitute resolution I would like to pass out and offer for consideration and vote tonight. The council will be familiar with this proposed substitute as it mirrors the, in quotes, hybrid budget that was presented to us by our mayor during our last regularly scheduled council meeting. If I may introduce the substitute.
Please do.
Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville, Alabama, as follows: that for the purpose of financing the conduct of affairs of the City of Prattville, Alabama during the period of October the 1st, 2011 and ending September the 30th, 2012, inclusive, the general fund operating budget of the city's revenues and expenditures for such period as prepared and submitted to the council by the mayor as attached, be and the same is hereby approved and adopted as the official fiscal year 2012 budget for the City of Prattville, Alabama, which totals $40,157,287. Be it further resolved that all monies expended October the 1st, 2011 to date prior to the adoption of this budget are hereby ratified and affirmed. Mr. Chair, I so move.
Council President Reniger has moved the resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Councilman Bowles. It's now properly before us. Do we have any comments on the proposed resolution? Councilman Striplin.
One question. Excuse me. One question. Does this include the 2 enterprise funds? When it was mentioned general fund, I wanted to make sure that we are also including the 2. I believe they're included in the back, but I wanted to make sure that was the intent.
Are you referring to the chair or are you referring to me?
To the one to you.
Oh, okay. Yes, it does include the enterprise funds.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councilman Bowles.
I take it this budget would include a full cent through the whole fiscal year?
Yes, sir. Without the extension of the 1 penny sales tax, this is not a balanced budget. It is not in my opinion, a workable document. That's why at the end of the last council meeting, when the 1 cent sales tax extension failed, is the reason why I asked that it be removed, shredded, my name taken off, because if it's not a true document that I can stand behind, I'm just not going to stand behind it.
I would ask that we hold this budget for 2 weeks.
We have a motion to hold. Is there a second? The motion to hold is before us. Any discussion on the motion to hold? Yes, Councilman Argo.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to try to be germane to the motion to hold. I'm in favor of holding it because obviously none of us have had really an opportunity to look at what's in this document. I trust my friend and council president 100% that it is exactly what it says it is, and that is the proposed hybrid that was given to us at a council meeting a few weeks ago by the mayor. If I remember correctly, the mayor's budget, at the hybrid budget at that time, the mayor had taken out the 2% projected growth, which I was certainly in favor of. I didn't want our budget to be built on any projected growth because I wanted any projected growth to go into a reserve fund. But I do know that the hybrid budget is $2,033,946 more than the Finance Committee's budget that was before us, or that is before us, or was before us. So I'm going to need some time to go through it and make sure that I know where that $2 million is going. I know where I hope it goes. I hope it's going to public safety and to several other of our departments that are in desperate need of some capital expenditures, including sanitation and wastewater. So with that, Mr. Chair and Mr. President, I believe we do need to hold this and give ourselves a little bit more time. And then, of course, obviously, until we have a resolution of the extension of the sales tax, any budget that's before us is out of balance. So I think it's a very prudent move to hold. Thank you.
Point of order. I believe, according to parliamentary procedure, that first of all, we have to vote on the adopted substitute. Then it's properly before us, and then we can hold it. But we have not voted on the move to substitute as yet.
You are correct.
I'll withdraw my motion to
hold. Okay. Can we vote on the motion to substitute the resolution? Any discussion on the motion to substitute the resolution, I guess I would say. No discussion. All in favor of substituting this resolution, raise your right hand, please. All in opposition, raise the like sign. It carries 6-0. It is now properly before us. I will certainly entertain those previous motions at this point. It is motioned by Councilman Bowles, seconded by Councilman Argo. It is now properly before us to hold this for 2 weeks. Any discussion on the motion to hold? All in favor of holding, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, raise your like sign. 5-1. It is held for 2 weeks. At this point in time, I would acknowledge, that the gavel is being passed back to Council President Reniger.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem. Next item on our agenda is a resolution to authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with FBAC for actuarial services at a cost of $5,000. Councilman Striplin, will you introduce this resolution, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Whereas the Governmental Accounting Standard Board, GASB, sets accounting standards for state and local governments and issues statements setting forth such standards, and whereas GASB Statement 45 requires state and local governments providing other post-employment benefits to account for and report such benefits in accordance with GASB guidelines, and whereas an actuarial evaluation is required to comply with GASB Statement 45, And whereas the City of Prattville provides OPEB in the form of retiree participation in the city's health insurance plan, and whereas the city is thereby required to have an actuarial evaluation of its OPEB liability in order to comply with the requirements of Gatsby Statement 45, and whereas FBAC has the expertise to perform these services, whereas FinNot Benefits and Actuarial Services, FBAC, will perform these services at a cost of $5,000. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to execute and deliver a contract for Gatsby 45 Actuarial Evaluation Services with FBAC. The mayor and all other necessary and proper representatives of the city are hereby authorized and directed to execute and deliver or attest a signature required on any document reasonably necessary to carry out the intent of this resolution. So moved, Mr. President.
Councilman Striplin has moved this resolution. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Banks. Any discussion on this resolution? Councilman Argo.
Yes, sir. Resolution number 3 does not specify where the funds will come from to pay the $5,000. I do not have an amendment written out, so I can't provide you with a written amendment, but I would contend that this resolution needs to be amended on line 49 to say payment for such services shall be expended from the general fund.
Would you like to move that we table this until the end of the agenda and give you an opportunity to prepare an amendment?
However you would like for me to do that, Mr. President.
President Renner, if I can.
Yes, sir. By all means.
You're going to have to do that on 3 through 7, and then also on 3 through 7, because all of them are expending funds from the general fund. No?
They all expend funds, Mr. McDowell, but number 4 says payment is to be made from the general fund.
It does.
5 says from the general fund. 6 says from the general fund.
Okay.
7 says from the general fund. I think this is the only one that says or does not say where the monies come from.
Amendment.
Mr. President, I do have an amendment.
Yes, sir.
On line 49 of this resolution, after the period, another sentence that says payment for such services shall be expended from the general fund. I so move.
Councilman Argo has posed an amendment. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilman Bowes. Any discussion on the amendment as proposed? All those in favor of the amendment to this resolution signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, the resolution is amended and properly before us. It has been moved by Councilman Striplin. Is there a second to the amended resolution?
Second.
Second by Councilman Argo. Any discussion on the amended resolution? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, resolution is adopted. Resolution number 4 is to authorize the release of funds in an amount not to exceed $596.96 for the revenue officer and revenue clerk to attend municipal revenue training. Councilman Miller, will you introduce this resolution, please?
Whereas 2011 Alabama Municipal Revenue Officer Association, parentheses AMROA, Winter Conference will be held December 1, 2011 through December 2, 2011 in Auburn, Alabama. And whereas the training will be primarily focused on the topic of new legislation for municipal revenue, and whereas the cost to have the revenue officer and revenue clerk attend this training is $596.96. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that funds in an amount not to exceed $596.96 are hereby authorized and approved for the revenue officer and revenue clerk to attend municipal revenue training, and such payment is to be made from the general fund. Mr. President, I so move.
Councilman Miller has moved this resolution for adoption. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Bowes. Any discussion on this proposed resolution? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition? Seeing none, the resolution is adopted. Next item is a resolution to authorize the release of funds in an amount not to exceed $920 for the wastewater department to repair manhole base adjacent to the Robert Trent Jones Golf Course. Councilman Argo, will you introduce this resolution?
Yes, Mr. President. Whereas the City of Prattville Wastewater Department will perform repairs to said manhole base, and whereas the cost to perform these repairs is $920, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that funds in an amount not to exceed $920 for repairs to said manhole base, which is adjacent to the Robert Trent Jones Golf Course, are hereby appropriated and funds are to be paid from the general fund. Mr. President, I so move.
Councilman Argo has moved this resolution. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Fank. Any discussion pertaining to this resolution? Councilman Bowes.
Can the mayor have the floor for a moment?
Well, you're in the middle of our agenda here, Mayor. What's the problem?
Suspension of rules, since we do not have a budget and this expenditure of funds, should there not be suspension of rules?
Okay.
Thank you.
According to the attorney, you're correct. Thank you. Appreciate you pointing that out to us. All right, Mr. McDowell, I'm going to have to refer to your legal expertise. What do we need to do? Rescind items 3 and 4 until we get a suspension of the rules?
I think if you just do an oral motion to ratify and affirm what you've done up until now, it would be okay.
Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to ratify and affirm what has been done thus far.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Strippin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of ratifying and affirm what we've already done signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? These items have been ratified and affirmed.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion on resolution number 5. We suspend the rules.
Motion's been made to suspend the rules on resolution number 5. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Bowes. Is there any discussion on the motion to suspend? All those in favor of the suspension of the rules signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, rules are suspended and this resolution is properly before us. Is there any discussion about this resolution pertaining to it? We have received a motion and a second, have we not?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of adopting this resolution signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, resolution is adopted. Item number 6 is a resolution to authorize the release of funds in an amount not to exceed $900 for the Prattville Police Department handheld radio repair. Councilman Strippin, will you introduce this resolution, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Whereas the Prattville Police Department has a need to repair 6 handheld radios, and whereas said repairs are performed by ComServe, and whereas the cost of said repairs is $150 per handheld radio, totaling $900. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that funds in an amount not to exceed $900 for handheld radio repairs are to be paid to ComServe and are hereby appropriated, and funds are to be paid from the general fund. So moved, Mr. President.
This resolution has been moved by Councilman Strippin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Bowes. By point of order, this will carry over unless there is a move to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Argo. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Fank. Any discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, the rules are suspended and this resolution is properly before us. Is there any discussion on this resolution? All those in favor of adopting this resolution signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, the resolution is adopted. Item number 7 is to authorize the release of funds in the amount of $1,290.00 for payment to the Alabama Amateur Softball Association for the officiating of the City of Prattville Fall Adult Softball League. Councilman Fank, will you introduce this resolution, please?
Whereas the Alabama Amateur Softball Association, AASA, will be officiating the City of Prattville Fall Amateur Softball League, and whereas the cost of this service is $1,290, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that funds in the amount of $1,290 for officiating services are to be paid to the Alabama Amateur Softball Association and are hereby appropriated, and funds are to be paid from the general fund. Mr. President, I so move.
Councilman Fank has moved this resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Argo. By point of order, this will carry over until our next meeting unless there is a move to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Councilman Bowes has moved to suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Argo. Any discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? I see none. The rules are suspended and this resolution is properly before us. Is there any discussion about this resolution? All those in favor of adopting this resolution signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, this resolution is adopted. Item number 8 is to authorize the city attorney to file weeded liens on certain properties. Councilman Bowes, will you introduce this resolution?
To authorize the city attorney to file weeded liens on certain properties. Whereas 11-67-60 through 11-6767 Code of Alabama 1975 as amended details the process for declaring certain weeded lots a public nuisance, ordering their abatement, and exceeding the cost of the abatement. And whereas the City Council of the City of Prattville finds that during 2011, 1, the Prattville Planning Department identified several lots as being public nuisance due to abandonment of overgrown grass and weeds. 2, the owners of various weeded lots were properly notified to the public nuisance as required by 11-67-62. 3, a public hearing concerning the lots were conducted as required by 11-67-63, and the City Council adopted a resolution authorizing the mayor to abate the public nuisance. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that the cost of abating these nuisance is reported as marked in Attachment A, is adopted, and the cost therefore shall be assessed against the respective parcels of property. Be it further resolved that the city attorney shall file this report with the Revenue Commissioner of Autauga and Elmore counties under the optimum method of taxation pursuant to Article 1, Division 2, Chapter 51 of Title 11 of the Code of Alabama 1975 as amended. I so move.
Councilman Bowes has moved for the adoption of this resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Striplin. Any discussion on this resolution? Councilman Bowes?
I make a motion that we hold this until for 2 weeks, please.
Motion's been made to hold. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Fank. All those in favor of holding this resolution to our next regularly scheduled meeting signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Resolution is held. Item number 9 is a resolution to authorize the mayor to renew the agreement for the operation of Older Americans Act Title III Community Programs on Aging contract with Central Alabama Aging Consortium. Councilman Miller, will you introduce this resolution, please?
Whereas the City of Prattville entered into an agreement with Central Alabama Aging Consortium for Title III Community Programs on Aging Services, and whereas the City and Central Alabama Aging Consortium desire to renew the agreement under which Central Alabama Aging Consortium shall continue to provide services for the City, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Prattville, Alabama does hereby authorize the Mayor to enter into a contract with Central Alabama Aging Consortium for Title III Community Programs on Aging Services ending September 30th, 2012. Mr. President, I so move.
Councilman Miller has moved resolution number 9. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Striplin. Any discussion on this resolution? All those in favor of adopting this resolution signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, the resolution is adopted. Since we're not expending any money, it didn't require a suspension of the rules. Last item is an ordinance to amend Prattville City Code, Chapter 66, Article 3, Section 66-358, regular monthly charges schedule, and Section 66-359, same dash minimum, flat rate. Councilman Argo, will you introduce this ordinance, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Prattville that City Code, Chapter 66, Article 3, Section 66-358-1 is hereby amended as follows. Number 1, for any establishment discharging sanitary sewer or processed wastewater and which utilizes the city's sewage collection system, a minimum sum equal to $2.55 per 1,000 gallons of water as billed by the Waterworks Board, except as hereinafter provided. Be it further ordained by the City that the City Code, Chapter 66, Article 3, Section 66-359 is hereby amended as follows. A, there is hereby established the following charges for each establishment or user as billed by the Waterworks Board as follows. Number 1, residential inside the city limits of $11 and $2.55 per 1,000 additional gallons of water. Number 2, residential outside the city limits of $12.50 and $2.55 per 1,000 additional gallons of water. Number 3, a minimum charge of $18 and $3.20 per 1,000 additional gallons of water for commercial customers inside the city limits. Number 4, a minimum charge of $21 and $3.20 per 1,000 additional gallons of water for commercial outside city limits. Number 5, all industrial users will have a minimum charge of $21 and $3.20 per 1,000 additional gallons of water. B, a flat rate sanitary sewer service charge may be levied for establishments not having a water meter to measure the amount of water furnished to such establishment. The sanitary sewer service charge for any such establishment shall be $11. This ordinance shall become effective upon its passage and execution as provided by law. Mr. President, I so move.
Councilman Argo has moved for adoption of this ordinance. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Striplin. By point of order, this will carry over to our next regularly scheduled meeting unless there is a move to suspend the rules.
Mr. President, I so move.
Councilman Argo has moved for the rules to be suspended. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Bowes. Any discussion on the move to suspend the rules? All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, the rules are suspended and the ordinance is properly before us. Is there any discussion about this ordinance? Councilman Argo.
Mr. President, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, this is reflective of the language that was provided to us during our work session on the Wastewater Enterprise Fund. Jim Marshall from Jackson Thornton is here. If there are any questions from the council about a particular charge, I just want to let you know that he is here in case there are any questions.
Do we have any questions of Councilman Argo or Mr. Marshall? Councilman Striplin? Councilman Striplin?
Thank you. Mr. Argo, in the discussion that we had, does this permanently fix these rates, or is there room for flexibility in the future?
If you'll remember, and I know you do, that's the reason why you're asking the question, there was some discussion about the possibility of tying rates to a consumer price index or to some formula so that in future years additional action by the council would not be necessary if there were need to be an increase in the rates. It's my understanding from discussions with Mr. Marshall that this particular resolution does not include that consumer price index or anything like that. So at this point, there would have to be some additional action by the council in future years.
With that understanding tonight, then at what point do we know we need to do it again?
Well, that's why we have really good friends in Jackson, Thornton, and Goodwin, Mills, and Kaywood to help us with that. I certainly understand where you're coming from. As a member of the committee, you are right on target. If you would like to hold this and have that discussion with Mr. Marshall and see if we can come up with some sort of a formula, I will be in favor of that. I'm not trying to push it through this tonight with that. If you have any concerns,
I'm not overly concerned about a formula. I'm just concerned that it doesn't get pushed on the back burner forever and ever, and it needs to be reviewed on a regular basis. And it could be that through specific financial information that's provided to us on a monthly basis, that we should have the competence to say that something's not correct and we need to do something, or it's time to make an investment in that area. But I just do think we need to be aware that this is not something we put on the shelf and we forget for 10 years.
And I agree with you 100%. The only point that I would like to drive home tonight is that the budget that has been substituted tonight includes the enterprise fund at an amount that is reflective of the increase in the rates. So at some point, we're going to have to adopt a resolution that allows the rates to be increased so that the budget matches. But I do understand what you're saying.
One final question, please, sir. When we did the increase of $10, which was temporary, we were told that the processor needed 30 days notice to incorporate. Is that a similar requirement for this, as far as making it a truly effective rate date for our citizens? You understand the question?
I do. The current ordinance before us says that it becomes effective upon its passage. Therefore, it would go into effect immediately. And would the Waterworks Board have an opportunity to make that change and begin to collecting the additional revenue in a day's notice? I doubt it very seriously.
Any other questions or comments pertaining to this proposed ordinance? All those in favor of adopting this ordinance signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? I see none. The ordinance is adopted. Anything to come from the floor from the City Council? Councilman Argo.
Mr. President, I do not have anything to come from the floor, although I was prepared to do that this evening. Over the last several months, we have had some discussions about the Legislative Reapportionment Committee. The Legislative Reapportionment Committee held a series of public hearings around the state to determine or to take public input on changes that may be proposed to the legislative districts around the state. As everyone knows, the 2010 census, once it is taken, there's a requirement that bodies are reapportioned, and the legislature is also responsible for that. And the mayor and I both have brought to your attention that there is very possibly a move afoot to change legislative districts in a way that could force the city of Prattville to have 2 state representatives rather than the current one in District 88, which is Mr. Beckman, who is here this evening. I am totally opposed to 2 representatives. It is unnecessary. It is not going to be helpful to us. It's going to be absolutely more difficult than ever for this city to be able to get proper representation if we are constantly having to go to 2 members of the House instead of just 1. Mr. Beckman has done a fine job as a state representative for our city. He is a resident of this city. Who better to represent our needs than the person who lives in this city? Under the current proposal that's being discussed, we would have a representative that would live outside of this city, and I think that would be detrimental to our interest in the long term. I have a resolution that I intended to bring from the floor, but in discussions with the mayor and with Mr. Beckman, I would like to do some fine-tuning to make it a little bit more appropriate for my sentiments and also for this council to consider. So with your indulgence, sir, I know that several of you were ready for me to bring this resolution. I'm going to do some tweaking to it with the mayor's help and the staff and with Mr. Beckman, and then I intend to bring it at our next meeting. So thank you, sir.
We'll look forward to seeing that on the agenda then, Councilman Argo. Is there any other items to come before the floor before we open it up for public comment? Okay. This time in our agenda, we will open the floor up for anyone that would like to address the council on any matter. Mr. Rhodes, I see you in the back there. Good evening, sir.
Mark Road, 1583, Upper Kingston. I'm the firefighter local 4141 unit president. I come here tonight, you see me here, I'm here every time you're here, trying to be a
No, I will. I will answer you, Mr. Rhodes. First of all, Councilman Wood had to excuse himself for a very important family matter. I can't get into the details, but he asked me, and I said, by all means, you have to take care of your family. I can't go into that, the details, okay? If you recall, I have proposed a substitute budget that was adopted, not adopted, but it was generally accepted, but held. Okay, that in essence is the hybrid budget that the mayor proposed to us during our last council meeting. We are coming together. We are trying to solidify this to take the pressure off of you and your fellow employees. As far as the sales tax is concerned, next time I will be proposing what I think will be, hopefully, a compromise that'll get us past this. That's what I want to give you for your Christmas present and everyone in the city of Prattville. I want this off our plate. I want it resolved. Now, that's the best answer I can give to you.
Yes, sir, and I appreciate that, and that's, you know, we all want it. It's really no more than y'all. I know y'all don't work 2 days out this month, as everybody keeps telling y'all. But
Wish you'd tell my wife that.
that it's just, I don't think that y'all see where these younger guys are. Not me, like I said, I'm not no younger guy. If someone's got a child on the way that's on that cut line, Mark, I got to go. I spoke to, what do you tell them? You tell me what I tell someone that we just spent $30,000 on the train. Hold on 2 more weeks. You're good. I wouldn't wait. I'd have been long gone. But we spent $30,000 to train that kid, and we don't know if we're gonna get that again. First, we don't have $30,000 to train one person. We don't have that $30,000 in our whole training budget next year. So that's why the urgency to keep these guys that we have, these good men, these good firemen, that are second to none here in this city when we get through this. I'm sorry that I got a little preachy.
That's quite all right.
Last time it's a little emotional for us.
Well, yeah, it's emotional for us too.
I'm sure Chief Brown's gonna have to address everybody tomorrow that it didn't pass. I can't even put my holidays in next time. I don't know if y'all understand that. That's huge to us.
Let me see if some of the other council members would like to discuss this with you. Is there anything from Mr. Rhodes? I don't want to monopolize this. Councilman Argo?
Yes, sir. I do want to clear one thing up. By law, we cannot take votes over the phone. So I just want to make sure. I don't know if Mr. Wood's vote would have made much of a difference, because I think the majority of the council felt like that even though this was more in line with what we were trying to get in front of us, we haven't actually read it yet. What was given to us tonight, if it is what the mayor gave to us 2 weeks ago, then I think the majority of the council will support that. But there are other pieces that have to go along with that. One of those was the wastewater enterprise fund. That had to be adopted. The sales tax is a huge piece because it props up a large portion of the revenue that will come in to fund the budget. So you and I have had many conversations, and I feel for you and I feel for other city employees. And I know that there are people that are making decisions on their employment while we sit here and argue about over a budget. And I deeply appreciate that. But I think the majority of city employees understand that this is a huge decision. This is not just something that we need to do to get off our plate. We have got to make long-term decisions that are going to set a financial course for the city. And I know you understand that, because you and I have had many conversations, and you've been extremely accepting of my explanations, and I appreciate that. But just, I think as Council President Reniger just said, I think we're together now. I think that a majority of this council is ready to move forward, and I know that 2 weeks gets us right before Christmas, and that's a very stressful time for everybody for a number of reasons, but also because it's a city budget. But for the first time in quite some time, I feel comfortable in what's before us. We're going to have a consensus on the sales tax because, again, that props up a huge portion of the budget. So if we can come up with an agreement on that, I think that you'll see in 2 weeks that a lot of these decisions that have the members of the city council and city employees on edge of their seats, I think that we can get past that and we can begin the new year in a new direction that everyone can feel comfortable with. So I beg your indulgence and give us those 2 additional weeks.
Anyone else? Yes, Mayor, go right ahead.
Thank you for coming down tonight, but yeah, and I'll be making some rounds to different departments tomorrow, and I don't know which shift, different firefighters are on, but I'll be, like I do on a regular basis, I go to various departments early in the mornings, and so I won't be trying to enlighten them, and I'll hate to say that I have not been around to the fire stations lately. I've been going to wastewater and vehicle maintenance and some other departments, but you will be seeing me out there again shortly trying to explain this and to the best of my ability. But we right now fortunately do have a small cushion or small window that the tax is in place until April, and hopefully the council will come together and so that way we can move forward. But I do appreciate everything that you do, and the firefighters, the police officers, you name the department. We are all under a stress level now, and have been, and I've seen a lot of professionalism from all of our employees, and I just want to say thank you for everything that everybody does.
Anything else from Mr. Rhodes? Anything else, Mr. Rhodes? Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council on any item tonight? Yes, ma'am. Good evening. Would you like to address that, Mr. Strickland?
Yes, sir, I will. I, too, am fundamentally against the sales tax. I have been since the day I got here. I do not believe that it is appropriate to ask the citizens of Prattville and its guests to shoulder the entire burden without a commitment from this body that there's going to be some reduction in our expenses. And that's the position I've taken.
It seems to me that the citizens are not shouldering all of this. As the Whitehall city employee, we've been shouldering the majority of this. And I know y'all are all the time saying thanks to the city employees, but I must tell you that I don't really think y'all really remember what the city employees are doing. We're talking about a very nominal amount of money on a sales tax. And I work in Montgomery with a lot of people who shop in Prattville. And not one of them has stopped shopping in Prattville because of a sales tax. And if you have been out shopping in Prattville, and if you've been to the know that people in Prattville have not stopped shopping. So it just seems to me that you're at a complete standstill. No one will agree about the tax, but without the tax, we can't have a budget. So it's just time to do something about the tax. Let's get on with it. That's it for me.
Any questions or comments from Mrs. Perry? Councilman Bowles?
Yes, ma'am, we're desperately trying to get this thing down so that everybody can settle back down, the citizens, the employees, everybody. But I did want to make a comment about what you said about people still shopping in Prattville. Today, for instance, in my store, I sold 3 jobs: Fort Deposit, Millbrook, and Deatsville, for over $20,000. That's a huge amount of money that was spent in Prattville from 3 different cities. I asked all 3 of them again, as I always do, what brings you to Prattville to shop? And every one of them grinned and said, I just love it here. It's safe. I love the people in Prattville. It's just a fun little community. So I would have to agree with you. It's working. It's not the best solution, but there is no good solution to this problem.
That's true, and it's not really hurting anyone. It's helping this city, though. So it's time for y'all to come up with a tax and get it passed so you can work on a budget. Because I will be personally surprised if y'all can pass a tax and pass a budget at the next meeting. I hope you can, but I'll be surprised. But if you can't, at least get the tax passed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to address the council on any matter? Ms. Gray.
I'm Allison Gray. I live at 1698 Old Country Road, Deatsville, Alabama. I have been looking at a house in Prattville for some time now. I've owned a business in Prattville for 12 years. For the first time, gentlemen, tonight, for the very first time in all the city council meetings that I've been to, if I had to give you a vote of confidence, you would not get it. Not tonight. I am so disgusted, really disgusted. I don't know, maybe I need another lesson on city politics. I don't know how this works. I'm really glad she asked Albert that question because I wondered the same thing. Willie stated before he left how he felt about the tax. He wanted the tax to go through. So can that not be counted as his vote? Hello, can it? That would have been 4-3.
A vote can only be taken when it's properly before us, and at that time it was not properly before us.
Okay. So, and I'm sorry about his family emergency. There have been other times when there have been important things to vote on when it didn't go because one member or another was not here. You know, guys, I don't know how else to say it. But right now, I don't know that I want to move to Prattville. And y'all know how much I love Prattville. But I'm disgusted, really disgusted. And Mr. Argo, when you talk about us making more cuts, you want to see us make more cuts. Well, how much more do you expect public safety to cut? I mean, really.
Ms. Gray, I don't believe I said I wanted to see us make more cuts.
Yes, you did.
No, I think the last several council meetings I've been here, I've talked about putting money back into public safety. I haven't talked about making more cuts.
You also stated in the beginning of this meeting, Mr. Argo, that you felt until the mayor and the department heads and the city council members realized that they had to continue to make more cuts than they've already made. Yes, sir, you did say that.
Well, I deeply
Some of
apologize.
these departments cannot
that.
make any more cuts. Yes,
I don't
you did.
believe I
Well,
said
go
that.
back and look at the tape
I'll be
because you
glad
said
to.
it.
I'll be glad to.
sorry. Yeah. Get your house in order.
Okay.
She's right. I mean, I know every one of you personally. I am so disgusted. You had this, he told you 2 weeks ago, this whatever this hybrid thing is, that if you didn't pass that sales tax, don't do anything with it because it wouldn't go, and yet you had that here tonight to vote on. Well, I'm sorry, but maybe I don't understand. Maybe I do need a lesson on city politics. But why, if he said that and you didn't vote on the sales tax, would you go ahead and propose to vote on his budget? That he said don't do it if you don't do the sales tax.
You made your point.
Anybody want to give me a lesson?
You made your point.
You want me to sit down?
No, ma'am. I'm just saying that your 5 minutes is almost up.
Oh, well, the last guy had 15. I'm up here. I want some answers. I want to know why some of you say one thing and then do another. I'm sorry. Why do you do that? Last meeting, Mr. Wood proposed the same proposal that Mr. Bowles proposed tonight, that we extend the sales tax, the 1 cent sales tax, through 2013. He couldn't even get a second on it. Why? Does he not play well with his classmates?
Now, on that one, I did call Mr. Wood the next day and apologize because I should have seconded that. Because I've been up here numerous times, but you know I'm the black sheep of the council. And if I propose anything, there's certain members up here just going to vote no against it. And that's what happened tonight.
You're right.
They were playing politics, and I apologize.
I know.
Maybe Tom or
That's
Mr.
why
Miller or
I'm so
somebody else should have done that.
disgusted, Mr. Bowles. That's why I'm so disgusted. Because, you know, y'all don't realize that we sit out here in this audience and we watch every single one of you. Your minute expressions, the look in your eyes, we watch every move you make. You'd be surprised how much you tell us without ever opening your mouth. And maybe that's why I'm so disgusted. So why not? Willie Wood proposed the same thing. He couldn't even get a second. Tonight, 3 of you voted for it. But it's just 2 weeks later. And then it'll be 2 more weeks, and then 2 more weeks, and then 2 more weeks. And that fireman is right. I have a nephew that's a fireman in Montgomery. They wouldn't touch Prattville's fire department. They don't want any part of it. And we have always had a first-class, first-rate, number 1 rated fire department. And we have a good police department. But right now, with the games you're playing and the garbage you're putting everybody through, nobody wants it. That's a disgrace. This is a great city. It always has been. And the mess it's in right now is because of some of you guys right up there on that council. And I know y'all get upset every time somebody mentions it, but you did it. And now you want everybody else to pay the price. And Mr. Argo, when I get through, if you decide to pontificate on everything that I've said, I'm probably really going to be ticked.
I doubt it.
That's all I got to say.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you sharing your viewpoints with us, and I'd be happy to talk with you after the meeting at any time and discuss any of these concerns of yours, sincerely. Would anyone else like to address the council on any issue tonight? Mr. Brown.
Lonnie Brand, 258 Terry Lane. Since the sales tax was not passed, is there a possibility that what's that word here? An ordinance on a tax plan will be proposed at the next meeting? Is there a possibility of that?
Is there a possibility of what now?
Of an ordinance addressing the tax plan be addressed at the next meeting, since it was not passed tonight?
Okay, are you asking me if there's another?
Is there a possibility?
Yes, there is a very real possibility. I can assure you that.
Okay, and if the hybrid budget that was proposed by Mayor Gillespie included a passing of some taxes, then the question comes up in my mind as to, will they be another budget that has some more changes to it, possibly proposed at the next meeting?
I would doubt that, but I don't have a crystal ball. I think that particular budget is what the majority will move through, but we're going to have to find a proper way to fund it first, which will dovetail into the sales tax.
But to refresh my own memory, I thought we originally had the mayor's proposed budget, and then we had the finance committee's proposed budget, and then we had a hybrid compromise of those two, which included a tax increase. Those three type things have been before the council. Is that right?
No. There were several proposals made that were discussed. The only budget that was ever properly put before the council was that was proposed by the finance committee. That has since been substituted by the hybrid proposal that the mayor gave us during our last council meeting. And now that is the budget that's properly before us for consideration.
Okay, so any other proposed budgets that may be the same thing or some adjustments to the same thing is possible for the next meeting?
It's possible, but not likely.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Brandt? Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to discuss or bring anything before the city council at this time? Mayor, do you have a report to close us out?
Yes, sir. I mentioned earlier about pulling the department heads together to look forward at the 2014 area, the right-of-way cuttings, and also moving forward potentially, hopefully, with the biking trail. And they're pulling the department heads are pulling some reports together on that, and hopefully we'll have another meeting on that in the next couple of weeks or so. And I'll be inviting everybody up here on the council to sit on that, because it's 2014 is an issue that's not going to go away, but then also the biking trail is something that I feel like would be a positive amenity that several people in the Prattville area and also outside the Prattville area can come and enjoy, and just be a benefit to the city. But beside that, I did enjoy the football game we went to in Tuscaloosa. That was a big benefit, promotion for the city of Prattville, and I'm looking forward to supper tonight, and I hope I'll go to supper with several of you guys, and we'll have a good evening talking together. But thank you.
Councilman Striplin.
Just very briefly, I do also express appreciation to all the city employees and Kelly Cook for organizing the tree lighting and the parade. I know being here, it took a tremendous number of people throughout the city to be involved, and thanks to all of them. I also express appreciation to Police Chief for utilizing the CERT folks. The ones I talked with really seemed to enjoy volunteering and having a baton. They just wanted a gun next. But and also to the Autauga Creek Improvement Committee, that they're doing something that's going to benefit the entire city and not just one area. So Thank you to all.
Councilman Argo?
Yes, sir. I'm going to do my best not to pontificate, but I do have a couple of things I'd like to say. First of all, I would like to say that I've been on this council for a little over 15 years, and in that 15 years, there have been several very difficult decisions that have had to be made by this body. One of which, in 1996, was to borrow $6 million to build a golf course. We had a mayor at that time and several city council members who were opposed to borrowing $6 million to build that golf course. And I think now, looking back on that 15 years later, there's not a soul in this town or in this state that will say that that was a bad decision. So I want to say thank you to this council for remembering it's the decisions that you make that matter, not the time limit that it takes to make them, and not the citizens that you have to try to placate and make happy. You have to make decisions that are in the best interest of this city that will be in place for this city for years to come. And from time to time, there are those who will come before this council that will call us names and insult us and argue and do everything that they can do to make it appear as though that we're just not doing our job. And that's fine. That's what we signed up for when we decided to run for council. We decided at that time that we would put up with people who choose to treat us that way. But we all ran for council for the reason because we wanted to make a difference. And I stand before everyone in my district, as I have done 4 times, and ask to be elected, to ask them for their vote of confidence to allow me to represent them as each of you have done. And I will ask you again to remember it is the decisions that you make that matter, not the time it takes to make them. Because every single one of us want to do what is in the best interest of this city, despite what you might hear from a few of those who choose to come before us. And I will always say, and I will say it again, that it is amazing to me that the people who come before us who want you to shake their hand with this one and slap you with this one. It are those that come before us that offer solutions and offer to help that make a difference. Those who come before us to insult and to argue and to demean, they're not helping. They're only hurting. They are part of the problem. Mr. President, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Councilman Miller.
No.
Councilman Bowles.
One thing, I do agree with Councilman Argo. The decisions are very, very important up here. We've made several decisions. I'd say the council, High Point, Project K, and the list goes on and on. So I do want everybody to make sure we make the right decision this time, because it is affecting everybody in the community. But at the end of the day, we have to pay our bills. And that's what this tax is about, paying bills. Thank you.
Councilman Fink.
Yes, sir. I usually sit over here and I'm relatively quiet, don't say a whole lot. Ms. Gray, I've known you a long time. I think if we can remember 2 weeks ago, we had a sales tax proposal before us at that time that was a 1-cent extension to go to the end of the fiscal year for 2012. I believe that vote failed, if I'm correctly. I know there were 2 on the opposing side of continuing that tax extension. I don't think you have anybody up here, and I say this to the city employees, the firemen, everybody else, I don't think you have anybody up here that is necessarily that doesn't understand that we're going to need to have a tax increase in place for this budget. I think we all understand that. I think we've all voted on a version of that sales tax to support a sales tax increase at some point during this process. What you see right now is a differing of opinions as to how we sunset that sales tax. That's what you see. If 2 weeks ago, the 1% could have been passed, and these amendments that were made tonight would have been irrelevant. We would have had the 1 cent sales tax in place till the end of fiscal 2012. And it would not have been an issue, and we would probably have a budget right now. So I would contend that if Council President Reniger and I, who voted on the side to continue that tax, if it would have gone through at that point, we would not have even had these amendments that were necessary to make. We wouldn't have had to have them. I support a continuation of the sales tax with a half-cent. If that would have been before us, it would have had my affirmative vote, and I would have been happy to have voted on the budget at this point. I'm anticipating that that's probably what's going to come before us at the next meeting. So, thank you.
Our next council meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December the 20th, 2012 at 6 p.m. Invite everybody to come back to be with us at that time. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Argo. Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned.